So with the trade deadline today, the day this episode comes out, we wanted to get through as much as we could about with buyers, sellers, and obviously recap some of the moves and kind of do a little bit of analysis, if you will, as to what's going on, who's going where, and whether we think it's a good fit or not. But before we do that, let's take a quick look at the wild card standings of the division races as well. Your American League division leaders, you've got the Orioles are up in the division by several. Why don't they show this on here? That's weird. There we go. They're up on the Rays by a game and a half. Amazing. And then you've got the Twins up on the Guardians, up on Cleveland's baseball team by half a game. This is all going into Monday. And then the Rangers and the Rangers are up on the Astros by a game. And then in the National League, your divisions, you've got the Braves up on the Marlins by almost a dozen.
It's 11.5 games right now.
Yep.
Just unreal.
And then the Reds are on top of the NL Central right now by half a game. I think that was I think that's actually current. I think that's updated already. And then the Dodgers are up on the Giants by 2 games as well. So those are your division leaders and by how much. Let's go look at the wild card. The 3 holding wild card spots in the American League right now. You've got the Rays, who are up 4 games. Then you've got the Astros and the Blue Jays are tied for the second and third spot. And then after that, filling in 4.5 games, you've got the Red Sox, Yankees, Angels, and Mariners. And then you've got Cleveland, but honestly, I think if they're going to make the playoffs, they're going to have to win their division. I don't think they're going to be able to make up those 6 games in the wild card because it's going to get really, really close. The Mariners are going to have a hard enough time as it is with 4.5 games. I don't think Cleveland can make up 6. And then over in the National League, you've got San Francisco is up 1 game. Then you've got the Marlins and the Brewers who are tied for the second and third spots. And then going back, I'm going to go ahead and include San Diego in this list, Brig, just because they're playing well right now. We've been waiting for them to click all season long, and I'm wondering if it's happened. If something happened over the weekend playing the Rangers, and this is the team we're going to see. I don't know. I'm not saying we are, but I'm wondering if that's what's going to happen. So between those 5 games, you've got the Phillies, the Diamondbacks, the Cubs, and the Padres bringing up the rear at 5 games. Then you've got the Mets at 6.5. I don't think they've gotten rid of enough guys in the last few days that I think they're selling. They're just going to continue to sink from here on out.
Yeah, I agree. So, you know what's really interesting is that Oakland is 29 games back in the wild card. That's
crazy.
It's a lot. Kansas City's 27 games back. And then you get to a manageable 16 games back in the wild card in Chicago, right? Mm-hmm. If you look over at the National League, Colorado's at the bottom, and they're 15 games back. And then you move up to Washington, 12 games. St. Louis is only 10 games out of the wild card race. So the division of wins and losses between the American and National Leagues, just as evidenced by what the Braves are doing and then the rest of the league, it's just fascinating to me that the lowest performing team in the American League is 29 games out of the wild card race. And the lowest performing team in the National League, did I say the American League? I meant the American League.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't know. And then Colorado, lowest performers in the National League, 15 games back of the wild card. I think, to me, that's fascinating. It's double between the 2 leagues at the lower end of the.
Yeah. Well, and the Blue Jays and Astros are only 2 games better than the Marlins and the Brewers. Is all.
Right. Isn't that so interesting?
Yeah. Yep. It really is. I mean, and I think we're going to be
a statistical analyzer or anything, but
it's crazy. It's so crazy. Okay, let's get into some of these deals that we saw over the weekend. First, like the big one, the first big one we saw, and then the dominoes started to fall. David Robertson went to the Marlins from the Mets. Oh. And then Max Scherzer started questioning his faith after this. Says, I'm going to have to start talking to, like, I saw this while I was at the Diamondbacks game, the Mariners and Diamondbacks game Friday night. It was on TV several times, by the way. It was pretty neat to see myself. I went back and watched the game, and I found myself a few times. But anyway.
Nice.
But so I was looking at this while I was at the game, and he's like, I'm going to have to talk to the front office. And first I was like, I don't think that means what you think it means. but it did because 24 hours later, he was gone. He went to the Rangers.
He went to the Rangers,
and
which I did
Rangers,
predict a while ago, by the way.
You did. It's like they say, the stars can tell the future. They're just not very specific about their timing. Harry Potter, for anybody who knows.
Love that.
But the timing for the Rangers was perfect though, because they had to put Nathan Eovaldi on the 15-day IL, I believe, with a forearm strain.
Which is why my fantasy team is suffering. Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
There you go. So that's another big trade from the Mets. The Mets clearly have learned that you cannot buy a World Series anymore. That's not how baseball works anymore. It's not the 90s.
Sorry, Steve.
Yep, that's right. It's crazy. The Mets, the Padres, the Yankees, and who am I missing? I know the Rangers are in top 5 payroll, but they've been a lot more strategic about it than I think these other teams have. I can't think of who the other team, the 4th team in the top. Oh, the Phillies. The Phillies. Those 4 teams, the Phillies, the Mets, the Yankees, and the Padres all are top 5 in payroll, and they're all out of the playoff picture right now.
Yeah.
So
fascinating.
It really is. It is. So more trades. The Dodgers got Lance Lynn and Joe Kelly from the White Sox. The White Sox got Trace Thompson, Nick Nastrini, and Jordan Leaser. They're just like, take them. Just take them. We don't want to get nothing from them, so just take them, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Garage sale them. The Astros got back. Yeah, Joe Kelly's back in LA, which is where I feel like he belongs.
He's a great fit there. I love him there. Yeah.
Houston Astros got Kendall Graveman back from the White Sox for catcher Corey Lee. We talked about Max Scherzer. And then today, what's today? Today's the 31st. So yesterday, Sunday, there was just a flurry of activity.
Oh, man.
Jordan Hicks went from the Cardinals to the Blue Jays. And then we had Jordan Montgomery and Chris Stratton go to the Rangers. The Rangers just like, we need pitching. So they went and got a bunch of pitching. So we'll see. But they did well with it, though. The Braves got an infielder, Nicky Lopez from the Royals, a minor move. And I feel like the Braves didn't really need to make moves. I think they were just kind of shoring up some depth, right?
Totally.
It's kind of like, let's just be prepared. We talked about the Lucas Giolito deal with the Angels and the White Sox. Well, the Angels did some more wheeling and dealing. They got CJ Cron and Randall Grichuk from the Rockies.
Great.
I don't know how this is going to work out.
Moves.
This is a good move. I feel like CJ Cron played for the Angels before. It didn't go great, right? Like, I don't know if he's benefiting from the Rockies for being in Colorado or if he has improved that much as a player, right?
I don't know either, but we are about to find out all the way.
We are. He did drive in a run tonight, so there's that. Grichuk homered tonight as well. It's interesting, though, to see what the Angels is that I was talking about this with Jewel over the weekend, that, like, all it's going to take for them to get Ohtani to come back, I feel like, is making the playoffs. They don't even have to win a game. They could lose in the wild card round. They could get blown out in 2 games in the wild card round. But if they get there, he's going back.
I disagree.
You disagree? Why is that?
I think there needs to be a deeper push into the playoffs for him. I don't think he's happy there. I think he's good enough. I think he likes being the big fish in the small pond. Who doesn't like that?
Right.
But I think he has his sights set really high. And even if the Angels do make a push into the playoffs, and if it's a shallow push into the playoffs, he'll see it for what it is and realize that this might have been a one-off just to try to keep me around. This isn't cultural shift that the team really does need.
And see, I think that he could see it as, if they try, we'll get there. If they really make a real concerted effort, we'll get there. And me coming back and saying, I want to get to the playoffs. And maybe he won't sign a long-term deal. Maybe it'll be a few years of the player option at some point, right? But I don't think it'll take much, because he can be like, you have the capability of building a playoff team. Let's do it every year because we can. right?
Yeah, he's not wrong.
Because he's playing like a man possessed and leading and carrying this team with no Mike Trout, no Anthony Rendon, no Zach Neto, right?
Oh,
this is
Ohtani's
team.
Is heartbreaking,
right? Yeah, so
it's
Ohtani carrying them and keeping them as contenders right now.
Yeah, it's true. That's why I like the Crone and Grichuk move. Grichuk is great. I mean, especially with the issues they've had in their outfield over in Anaheim, this is a great move, especially Grichuk.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh shoot.
Yeah, and if you think about it, with what's their utility guy that played for the Yankees for a long time? Gio Urshela. He broke his hip, and they need depth and some platooning capabilities.
I saw today that they have the Angels have more of their 40-man roster, more money dedicated to their 40-man roster on the injury side than they do on the playing side, on the active side. That they don't have any more room on their 40-man roster that they bring anybody else in or up. They're going to have to remove somebody from the 40-man roster because they are chock full with injuries.
Jeez.
Just terrible luck this year as far as that goes.
Yeah, but they're still hanging in
there. They're still in it.
Nuts.
Right. Yeah.
It's nuts.
It is nuts. Yep. Okay, today's deals, Monday's deals. Aaron Savali, the Rays got Aaron Savali from Cleveland for a pack of ramen noodles. The Mariners dealt Paul Sewald to the Diamondbacks, which is crazy because I was driving to the game on Friday, and one of the local guys on the radio, he's like, don't be. He's like, I think that the Mariners, I think the Diamondbacks are going to go after Paul Sewald specifically. I'm getting tired too, Brig. But he's like, I think the Diamondbacks are going to go after Paul Sewald specifically. I was like, dude, you're crazy. There's no way. The Mariners aren't going to deal Sewald to the Diamondbacks. It turns out he's not crazy.
Well, and the crazy thing about this is that the D-backs gave up Dominic Canzone.
Who had a great weekend, Rojas, by the way.
and Ryan Bliss. And I watched Canzone's first handful of games. I watched him get his first hit, stolen base, home run, the whole shebang in the last, couple weeks or whatever. The dude is legit.
He
has so much fun, and he is a speed demon. And I was like, oh, here we go, Arizona. They've got Carroll. They look at Canzone coming up. And then I'm like, I'm all about Arizona making a push. I think it's fantastic. But I don't know why you got rid of Canzone. Make no sense.
Yeah, so there were, when you're at a game and you're just watching your team, there are a few guys who come up and you go, oh, okay, let's see if we can get this guy out or at least minimize the damage. Nobody's on, hold him to a single, right? Canzone was one of those guys this weekend. It was Corbin Carroll, it was Ketel Marte, it was Lourdes Gurriel Jr., and it was Dominic Canzone because I saw him hit. I think he ripped a double into the gap, and it was a smoke show, right? And I was like, and after that, I was like, watch out for this guy. And the fact that they traded for him today is like, that's a bat the Mariners need today. Absolutely today.
And they will employ him today, and he will add so much depth to the next handful of years for you guys. It's going to be a big deal. This is going to be a big deal.
Might have the answer at DH because he DH'd for the Diamondbacks Friday and Saturday, and the Mariners didn't really have a good answer at DH this year, and he could be it. So I'm looking forward to that. Or one thing that's interesting too is that he could be potentially replacing Teoscar Hernandez in right field because there are several teams interested in him right now. So he could be on the move in the next 12 hours.
Dude,
based
that
on
would
our
be
current time.
Fantastic for Seattle.
It would be because I saw that there were three teams: the Blue Jays, the Giants, and somebody else. I can't remember off the top of my head, but three teams were interested in Hernandez. So I was like, you get a bidding war, you can get back a pretty good haul for a guy like Hernandez, especially the expiring contract.
And you've already have a backfill option with somebody who is producing now.
Yep.
And with lots of club control. Yeah, that's great.
Oh, big time. Lots and lots of club control. So I thought that was a great deal sending Sewald. It's a bummer. I like Sewald a lot, but
he's terrific.
The Mariners really came out on top in that deal. I felt like
they did.
So another deal today, the Brewers got Mark Canha from the Mets. The Cubs. So did you see that Jamer, is it Jamer? I think it's Jamer. Candelario was he wasn't in the lineup today.
What did I tell
he's sitting in the clubhouse eating. Yeah, he's in the clubhouse eating popcorn, waiting for a deal to get done. Yeah. And so he is a Cub, and you were right.
What did I tell you?
Yeah,
I knew I knew he was going to get moved. I knew it.
Yep.
And I'm sad that they did, because here we go, further evidence that Washington is still in dump it off mode, and I don't like that. But,
right. Yeah, it's crazy that they have a guy this good, and they're not like, let's build around him. Instead, they're just like, let's steal him because we can, because it's that time of year.
So sad.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And then AJ Pollock and utility man Mark Mathias went from the Mariners to the Giants for a player to be named later, or cash, or ramen noodles. I don't know, probably just ramen noodles. And then
Pogs. There'll be a set of Pogs in the
Pogs.
Sleeve.
You're more. Yeah, you're right. A sleeve of Pogs
with one slammer, maybe.
Maybe a slammer. The Reds got left-handed pitcher Sam Moll in international cap space from the Mariners for Joe Boyle. That's not the deal I wanted to see the Mariners make with the Reds. No. I wanted to see Jonathan India come over and be a Mariner.
You did.
The Cubs got Jose Cuas from the Royals, and the D-backs got Jace Peterson for Chad Padrick from the A's. So those are deals up to this moment. It is currently 9:30 Pacific time. That's what we've seen. So, Brig, based on what we've seen, we've got buyers and sellers. What's your favorite deal so far? We talked a lot about that deal for the Mariners. I don't think that's necessarily going to put the Mariners over the top this year, but it puts them in a good spot for next year, which is what Jerry DiPoto said that he's going to try to do. Obviously, the Mets are selling, right? Big time.
No,
selling.
They're not selling. They're dumping, and players are jumping ship. And by the way,
Justin Verlander too now has questioned his faith, right?
Of course he has. And when he moved, I was like, no, don't do it. This is no. Are you kidding me? And why not go back to Detroit? If you're going to go anywhere, go back to Detroit. I was so mad for him. And look, I told you. I'm doing the I told you so dance.
Yep.
Anyway, let me just go ahead and mention that David Robertson is a national treasure. So if you're not tracking that information yet, you ought to be. And I've been saying that for almost 5 years because it's a fact. That dude has seen it all. He's done almost everything. He is an incredible rock of a human being in a clubhouse. He's a terrific relief pitcher. He is a capable teammate, leader, etc. Anybody who wants a contending arm or an arm as a contending bullpen guy wants David Robertson.
That's what the Marlins need. Big time.
I know.
Big time.
I know. So anyway, dude's a national treasure.
Yeah,
I love that deal for Miami because I want to see what happens. The only thing that would have been better is if Robertson had ended up in Texas. So if he'd ended up in Texas,
glad that didn't happen.
I know. Just spin on this for a minute. Robertson gets traded to Texas for whatever, doesn't matter what. Same ripple effect through the clubhouse. Scherzer goes and follows him. Oh, dude.
This is the thing though, like you say, ripple effect. I don't think Scherzer goes to Texas though. If that happens, I don't think the Rangers have the trade pieces to get Scherzer at that point. I think maybe Scherzer ends up going to Miami, but I don't know if he would waive his no trade clause for that.
I don't think Scherzer's going to go where he's wanted and where it's possible to to really go deep into the playoffs, and he made the right choice. Going to Texas was 100% the place for him to be.
Yep,
which I called. Absolutely. So I also told you so. That's fabulous.
You did, yeah.
Feeling
that might be your best call of the year.
Might be
because yeah, I didn't see it coming. I thought they had one more year for sure, at the very least, because I was really worried about their pitching, which obviously has been an issue. But they got a great GM down there, Chris Young. He knows what he's doing for sure.
He knows what he's doing. He is working it hard. The trade deadline was very interesting this year, and I feel like it was much quieter than any of us really expected it to be. There were some big deals, there were a lot of things that happened, but there were some disappointments, and I feel like we ended up with a more balanced and more reasonable trade deadline when I was expecting a more splashy, more exuberant trade deadline. How did you feel about it overall?
I felt like it happened about how I thought it was going to. There are a lot of teams that needed bats, so I didn't think there were going to be a lot of bats moved. But I did the math last week, Brig, and there's like 18 teams competing for a playoff spot right now.
Yeah.
So those other 12 teams, I didn't feel like had a whole lot of pieces to move. Like some of them did, yeah. Like the White Sox, absolutely, because they should not be this bad. Right? Same thing with the Cardinals.
Cardinals, yeah.
But other than that, though, I didn't feel like there was a whole lot to go around. And so I wasn't super surprised it was pretty quiet. There was a flurry of moves there at an hour and a half before, right?
Yeah, of course.
So I thought that was all. It was interesting there at the end, but mostly pitching, not a lot of bats moved. Yeah. And that was kind of what I was thinking was probably going to happen.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get into it because there were some things that were fascinating. The first is that the Mets traded Justin Verlander back to the Astros, and Brad's going to take over while I do this.
You did call it. That's such a funny move because he willingly left during the offseason, right? Yes. And the Astros were like, no, come back. We want you still. And I wonder if he's just like, it's better than what I'm doing right now. So
yeah, the devil you know,
right?
Yeah. So that was fascinating, and we'll see what happens. He still got it, so I'm not worried about it.
Sporadically,
it is sporadic, but it's still there.
It is still there.
Maybe he goes back home. Maybe he sees the trophy or the statue out front with his name on it, or whatever he gets in his head, and we'll see. So there's that. The Phillies traded Tigers All-Star Michael Lorenzen, or added. They got him. They acquired Michael Lorenzen. I think that's interesting. Do you think that's what the Phillies need? Is that enough for the Phillies?
No. Trey Turner's forgotten how to play baseball. That's what they need. They need him to remember how to play baseball.
Yeah. Yeah, I was a little bit confused as to why the Phillies only picked up one real
that was one of the things I was saying before the deadline is like, I don't think the Phillies need to make a move. They need the talent to click. That's what they need. And adding a guy like Lorenzen, like, yeah, he's a good pitcher. He's an all-star. But he's not going to put him over the top. He's not necessarily going to move the needle, I don't feel like.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. Okay. So. The Orioles acquired right-hander Jack Flaherty from the Cardinals. Now, this one, I feel like, is going to have some pop on the end of that deal.
Yeah, I like that one a lot.
This was a good move for the Birds. I really am excited for them.
I was shocked because this is going to make them a better team. I don't feel like management wants that, but they did it anyway.
They did it. And the Cardinals made the right choice because they need to shore up for whenever the next time is.
Yep.
The Marlins. This is what the Marlins did was, I think, the most surprising. But the Marlins added Jake Burger and Josh Bell. They picked up Jake Burger and Josh Bell, one from the White Sox, the other from the Cleveland's baseball club. Boy, Josh Bell, can we just lament his little handful of years really quick?
Well, it's weird because it's like all the fans want him.
Yeah.
But no team wants him, right?
Right. Yeah. I don't
know. It's odd.
Unserviceable first baseman. I think he's fallen from the grace he established early, and I think that's the problem.
He's not the Pirate. This is not Pittsburgh, Josh Bell.
No, it's not. And, that's okay. Anyway. Okay, D-backs get Tommy Pham from the Mets. That's fascinating. I think that has to do with some injuries, but
I think it has. Yes. I think that's what it is. It has to do with some injuries.
In summation, right?
Yeah. It's not a move that's going to move the needle. But but he'll fill some holes. That'll be fine.
Blue Jays traded for Cardinals Paul DeJong, and after Bo Bichette was injured. And the Bo Bichette injury is not a small thing for them in any stretch. So
right. So officially they diagnosed it as patellar tendonitis. So he's headed to the IL. He's going to be out for a little while. That sucks.
That sucks.
Like that's a crappy injury. I think Paul DeJong is going to be a good fill gap for them. And honestly,
it's Dijon. Okay,
sorry, like Dijon mustard.
It's Dijon Paul.
Dijon Paul. but no, I don't know if they're going to keep him around going forward, or if during the offseason they're going to deal him and be like, that's more pitching, because that's what we need.
The Padres, the Friars, they added Rich Hill and G-Man Choi from the Pirates. I have made very, very explicit that I think G-Man Choi is fantastic. I have been saying that for years. I think he keeps getting the shaft.
Well,
he keeps getting better at the same time. That's right. So I'm very excited for G-Man Choi. And because of that, for the Pirates, Rich Hill still got it. He's 39 or whatever, 48 or some kind of 142.
I don't know. All I know is that I will forever be calling him Rich over the hill.
Rich over the hill. Yeah. The Brewers traded for reliever Andrew Chafin from the D-backs. Chaffin. Andrew Chaffin. And that's pretty much those are
so it to me it was funny. It's funny that he was dealt on, I think that was on Monday, maybe it was Tuesday that happened. Anyway, I think it's funny that he was dealt then, because Saturday he almost blew the save entirely for the D-backs against the Mariners, and he didn't look good. So I think there's like, get him out, he needs to be done. So yeah, not really surprised.
Well, and he'll end up at the Brew Crew, and I don't know what that's going to be like for them.
Or him. Yeah, I'm not sure. It'll be interesting, though. Interesting move for the Brewers. But they have, like, a famously strong bullpen. So
correct. And that's not a coincidence. They have a famously strong bullpen development team and coaching staff and ability to manage and all of that. You don't just get great arms after great arms. You keep them, you manage them, you develop them. So bravo. And I think that if he needs help, that it's a good place to go to get help.
Yeah, it is. Yep, for sure. But Brig, my question for you is, what happened to the Yankees at the trade deadline? Did Brian Cashman like sleep through his power nap alarm and like miss? That's today. Oh no. So instead, he's going to trade for a cup of dirt. I mean, I'm not saying that Kean Middleton's a cup of dirt, but it was not a good trade. I'm sorry.
I don't understand it. And Aaron Boone, I think it was Aaron Boone the other day, came out and said, if it wasn't for those strikeouts, I felt like we put together some pretty good at bats, and we ground through some. And it was like 70% of the at bats.
They had 3 innings of putting the ball in play. And you're not even guaranteed to make all of those competitive.
No, and not even statistically possible to make all of those competitive if it's all jammed together like that. So, okay, all of Yankee fandom is livid at these comments, and I have not gone to look at what John Boy's post-game interview with Boone might have been, but I don't want to. It would probably just make me mad one way or the other. Either they soft shoot him and didn't come after him like they should have, or he gave another BS answer. I don't know. I have no idea. The point is, to your question, I don't know what happened. I don't know. There are holes. The holes need to be filled. There's a surplus in areas. There's a bunch of dead weight. If we were going to compete, to me,
guys playing with concussions apparently for 2 months.
Yeah. Okay.
What?
All right. Okay. Thank you for bringing that up. I got to say this. So for those of you who aren't tracking, apparently Anthony Rizzo has been playing with a concussion for at least 2 months, and they've tracked it back to a collision on a check throw back to first base or something like that.
It was the end of May with Fernando Tatis.
Fernando Tatis Jr. In was it at Petco Park? I feel like it was maybe it was Yankee Stadium.
I think it was at
I don't
Petco.
remember. The point is, he gets banged in the head by Fernando Tatis Jr.'s leg, and they're saying that that's likely the event that caused Anthony Rizzo to have a concussion. So here we are 2 months later, 60 days later, and we're all wondering what's going on with the Yankees. It makes no sense to anybody. But if that injury was known by the staff, front office, whatever, and nothing was done about it, I guarantee you that is going to put ruffles in the feathers of every other professional athlete in the clubhouse.
Yes.
Now, it would be different if Rizzo didn't say anything. He's a team guy. He's going to step up and do it, work through it or whatever. That's entirely possible. But it is interesting that we have a correlation between what in the crap is happening in the clubhouse in New York that's resulting in this awful performance. And 2, we have don't tell anybody from somebody. The possibility that maybe what is said is don't tell anybody, we cannot lose you or something. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's a bad look.
It's a bad look.
Bad news. And explains a lot because I actually saw a graphic the other day that said that Anthony Rizzo right now is worse than Joey Gallo ever was as a Yankee. And that explains all of it.
That would
absolutely explains every bit of it.
100%.
So
is this why guys don't like playing in New York? Are they not being taken care of? Are they not being listened to? Is this because that's possible at this point, right? With this many guys who've bailed or have been moved out and then said they were grateful to have been moved or whatever, even intimated that maybe they're happy to have left New York. Maybe there is something in the water hole that's poisoning everything.
Maybe. I don't know. Could be.
I mean, Domingo Germán goes on the what does he get? He gets what do they call it? I don't remember, a leave of absence or something. He's going to rehab for alcohol abuse, which I fully support, by the way. I did that. Right. I think it's a great thing. So, and I'm glad that the team is behind him and appears to be supportive, at least on the PR side of things. Why would they want to look any different? But what it comes down to is maybe there is a systemic problem in New York. You can't have all of these things that look like a duck and walk like a duck and quack like a duck and tell me it's not a duck. The end.